Finally, we were scheduled to go to Bombay, India. And there was some heavy fighting with the Japanese in that part of the country at that time. So they rescheduled us to go to Calcutta, India. We went up the Hooghly River, a huge river, and the tide would come in, reached way up, about 15 feet or high, and the ship would go until the tide would come back out again. Every 12 hours it would change. And it took us, I think, 3 or 4 days to get into Calcutta, India from the mouth of the Hooghly River. And finally we made it in there. We got stuck in the sand a couple of times when the water would come down and the ship wouldn't go any place because it was sitting on sand. And then the tide would come back again, the ship would go up. We traveled another day, go down again. Finally we got to where we was going.
I wanted to get overseas too, but I was always kept to do training. I went out to Reno to check out on the C-46, had the same engines as the B-26, so there was a lot of similarities, but the C-46 was a big Dumbo transport, twin-engine transport. So I was sent there, and they kept me on as an instructor, and I served as an instructor for a year, and then took one over to India to fly the hump. And when I arrived in India to sell the airplane, it was at Chabwa. You've probably heard the name Chabwa several times today. But when they looked at my flight records and said, oh, you have flown 4-engine airplanes, we can't keep you here, we have to send you to the B-24 base, which was in southern India called Dhaka. It's now Bangladesh, I guess. Anyway, I was sent down there because I had already had 4-engine time, and so I flew the B-24 tankers from India to China, just flying, hauling gasoline for the B-29s that were getting ready to bomb Japan.
The proper name of the outfit was the 158th Regimental Combat Team. The nickname was the Bushmasters. Back before the war, before the U.S. entered the war, even though the war was going on in Europe, the U.S. sent the 158th Regiment to Panama. Publicly, it was stated they went to Panama to be training in jungle warfare because the Philippine Islands had lots of jungles, Panama had lots of jungles, and so they were training in the Panama, but the real reason behind it, they were afraid that the German warships were going to take over the Panama Canal, and they wanted to have somebody there waiting for them if that happened. Well, they trained in the jungles, and they ran into a snake called the Bushmaster. I've never seen one live, but I've seen pictures of them. It's a giant snake, very, very venomous. But when they got through training, which was 3 days after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and they were loading on the boat because they were immediately were being sent to the Pacific, they decided that the Bushmasters are in charge now. That's us, because we conquered the snake. We took over the Panama and left it in secure hands, and so we're the Bushmasters. That was how they adopted the name Bushmaster, which is this huge snake, and the shoulder patch that we have has a picture of this machete, which is a big long knife with a snake coiled around it. We're very proud of our record.
On the way, we could even listen to Tokyo Rose. She was telling, I don't know if you've ever heard of Tokyo Rose, but she would tell all the guys, she even had names of some of the people, stating that their wife or someone's out messing around with somebody else and different things like that, just to lower, get your, to where you lose your, you try to make you feel, think about that instead of you're at war. And so that was something that I don't know many people know about, but it was like Axis Sally in Europe, and she did the same thing.